Okay, I'm crying. Oh my god. So powerful. Okay. Hi, I'm Dawn the Empath. I wanted to react to this video that Ren shot that I think is so brilliant because we are in the midst of a major mental health crisis around the world. There's a lot of people suffering and they don't exactly understand their inner landscape. And that's why I think that this track is so brilliant, because it's really showing how there's two different sides that can speak to you. There's the ego and there's the heart and soul, the part of you that came here to see the destiny and has a vision for your life. Oftentimes when we go through trauma, we're not able to fully understand ourselves and our inner landscape because we disassociate from knowing ourselves at that level, from being in touch with our emotional truth and being able to know which part of ourselves to listen to. And sometimes our trauma can create an inner criticizer, that ego that wants to shut us down and tell us all the bad, toxic things about ourselves that's simply not true. And when we start believing in that, that's when we enter a landscape of torment. And I feel like what Ren is doing here is just so brilliant. And so I wanted to react to that. Let's take a look. I love his guitar riffs, so beautiful.
Hi there, Ren. It's been a little while. Did you miss me? You thought you buried me, didn't you? Risky. Cause I always come back. Deep down you know that. Deep down you know I'm always in periphery. Ren, on your pleased to see me. It's been weeks since we spoke, bro. I know you need me. You're the sheep, I'm the shepherd. Not your place to lead me. Not your place to be biting off the hand that feeds me. Hi, Ren. I've been taking some time to be distant. I've been taking some time to be still. I've been taking some time to be by myself since my therapist told me I'm ill. And I've been making some progress lately. And I've learned some new coping skills. So I haven't really needed you much, man. I think we need to just step back and chill. Ren, you sound more insane than I do. You think that those doctors are really there to guide you? Been through this a million times. Your civilian mind is so perfect to always being lied to. Okay, take another pill, boy. Drown yourself in the sound of white noise. Follow this 10-step program, rejoice. All your problems will be gone. Fucking dumb boy. Nah, mate. This time is different, man. Trust me. I feel like things might be falling in place. And my music's been kinda doing bits too. Like I actually might do something great. And when I'm gone, maybe I'll be remembered for doing something special with myself. That's why I don't think that we should talk, man. Cause when you're with me, it never seems to help. You think
So good. I mean, he's really taking the ownership, taking the power back from that part of the ego mind. The ego is a part of the mind that is the survival tool. When we endure a lot of life experiences that can be overwhelming to us, the ego becomes the driver. It becomes this part of the mind that remembers all the bad things that have happened to us. It remembers patterns. It remembers all sorts of things that help us to overcome our vulnerabilities to ever enter that type of landscape again of pain and suffering and cruelty. So this ego can wreak havoc in our lives, because if we begin identifying with it and listening to it, we're really investing in a part of our life that becomes very destructive and is filled with lies and criticisms that are just simply not true about us or the world around us. It doesn't mean that the ego doesn't have truth in it. It does record the terrible things that happen to us, but at the same time, it tells a lie. It basically keeps us from realizing that we can be strong emotionally And that when we tune into ourselves and our emotional truth, that we're able to overcome, we're able to accept what happened to us, we're able to understand what happened to us from multiple levels of viewpoints, and we're able to really get ahead of the ego being in charge. We're able to allow our spirit to speak and to really allow that part of ourselves, our higher dimensional self, to really take control. And the ego is a part of the survival tool that is a trauma speaking. And so when people identify with it, they really rob joy from their lives. They don't have the ability to really see beyond the pain and the baggage that they're carrying. So it's really important what he's doing here, because he's showing two different dialogues between the ego and the heart. See, the heart came with your spirit and soul connected to it. That's the doorway. And that doorway is eternal. It speaks to the part of the soul that knows why you came here. It knows what you're here to do. It knows all of the beauty that it wanted to experience. But when the pain of life and abuse and terrible experiences happen to us, this other part of our brain wakes up and says, uh-oh, I know what to do. I'm going to make you appear big and strong, while really undermining you internally and weakening you emotionally and driving you towards madness. So what he's really talking about is the struggle between these two parts of the self. So let's listen further. This is just so brilliant.
You can amputate me, I am you, you are me, you are I am we are one, split in two, that makes one, so you see, you gotta kill you if you wanna kill me. I'm not leftover dinner, I'm not scraps on the side. Oh, your music is thriving, delusional guy. Where's your top 10 hit? Where's your interview with Oprah? Wow, your Grammys ran nowhere. Yeah.
See, the ego totally wants to annihilate you. It's like he's having this dialogue with his ego, and the ego is trying to remind him of all of his weaknesses and why he needs him. The ego is there to like constantly remind you of like, if you live without me, all these bad things are going to happen to you. Everyone's going to see your worst attributes. You're going to be vulnerable again. You know, it will try to undermine you and weaken you so that you won't be able to regain your true power, which is your emotional power, the power that comes through your heart and soul and your truth. And so the ego, if you look at between truth and lie, you can understand the ego is a liar. It's the great liar. But the heart knows the truth. The body knows the truth. And so it's a struggle that he's really picking up on.
But my music's not commercial like that. I never chase numbers, statistics or stats. I never write hooks for the radio, they never even play me, so why would I concern myself with that?
See? And Ren's like, why would I concern myself with this? Because the ego is like, oh yeah, go get all that worship, get all that self-aggrandizing. Because the more you go down that road of it's all about you, and the more you lust after anything that's just for you, all these people look up to you and worship you and think you're amazing, it's the more you actually become estranged from people. You become more disconnected from unity and harmony and being at one with all of life in this beautiful symphony. And so the ego will estrange you from that. And if you walk with that ego for a long period of time, you will become more depressed, more discontent. You will have a bleaker outlook on life. You will have the inability to trust other people and the inability to feel like your life is positive. So the ego kind of wants to steal that from you, that ability to say, yeah, even though messed up things are happening, I can still bring beauty into the world.
But my music is really connecting, and the people who find it respect it. And for me that's enough, cause this life's been tough, so it gives me a purpose I can rest in. Man, you sound so pretentious. Ran, your music is so self-centered. No one wants to hear another song about how much you hate yourself. Trust me. You should be so lucky, having me inside you to guide you, remind you to manage expectations, provide you perspective. That thing you neglected, I get it. You wanna be a big deal, next Jimi Hendrix, forget it. Man, it's not like that. Man, it's just like that. I'm inside you, you twat. No, it's not, man. You're wrong. When I write, I belong. Let me break the fourth wall by acknowledging this song. Ren sits down, has a stroke of genius. He wants to write a song that was not done previous. A battle with his subconscious. Eminem did it. Played on guitar. Plan B did it. Man, you're not original. You criminal rip-off artist. The pinnacle of your success is stealing other people's material. Ren, mate, we've heard it all before. She sells seashells on the seashore. Fuck you. I don't need you. I don't need to hear this. Cause I'm fine by myself. I'm a genius. And I will be great. And I will make waves. And I'll shake up the whole world beneath us. That's right. Speak your truth. Your fucking God complex leaks out of you. It's refreshing to ask for you. Say it instead of downplay it.
It's so interesting, right? Because like the ego is totally like the God complex leaks out of you. Well, who's the God complex except the ego? Hello? So this liar inside, it sets up these lies. And what is a lie except the opposite of the truth? If I don't get ahead of that, if I don't actually like disidentify with that, then what's it stealing from me? Because I'm living a lie. My whole reality is built on a lie. So it's really important to be honest with yourself and be in touch with your emotional truth so that you don't end up living in a reality that's a complete fabrication, a distortion of what it really could have been.
Music is all about the creative process, and if people can find something to relate to within that, then that's just a bonus.
Fuck you. I'ma fucking kill you, Ren. Well, fucking kill me then. Let's fucking have you, Ren. I'ma do it. Watch me prove it. Who are you to doubt my music? Cause I call the shots I choose if you die. Yeah, I call the shots.
So, by the way, the ego cannot kill you, and it doesn't have control of you if you don't let it have control of you. So that's where you getting in touch with your emotional truth and knowing your power from your heart and soul and your body and unifying that, you can get past a point where the ego is the driver. And the longer you walk in a place where your heart and your body and your emotional truth are empowered and connected, eventually your ego stops speaking and your mind will start following and figuring out how to construct what your heart and soul are actually asking you to do. The torment will stop at that point. Once you really start tuning into your heart and soul and listening to that, when you get that gentle pull from inside of yourself that says, no, this isn't right. No, I don't want to do this. When you start honoring yourself in that way, you'll start to realize that you are a very powerful being and you have greater capacity to create things that your mind could never have conceived of on its own that are far more amazing than what the ego wants to lie to you and tell you that it can do so well.
And so I choose who survives. I'll tie you up in knots when I lock you inside. Newsflash. I was created at the dawn of creation.
The snake.
I am temptation. I am the snake in Eden. I am the reason for treason, beheading all kings. I am sin,
Brilliant.
with no rhyme or reason. Son of the morning, Lucifer, Antichrist, father of lies. Mephistopheles, truth in a blender, deceitful pretender, the banished avenger, the righteous surrender. When standing in front of my solar eclipse, my name is stitched to your lips. So you see, I won't bow to the will of a mortal.
So when he says the solar eclipse, it's so brilliant because when you think about what happens when you're in the phase of the ego and the control of the ego, it blocks out all the light, right? That's the solar eclipse metaphor because all the light is gone. You can't see any light anymore. And what does the light bring? It brings intelligence. It brings love. It brings beauty. It illuminates everything. Everything becomes beautiful, magical, wonderful. And so if you're investing in the ego, if you're letting the ego run your life, you're literally like blocking out the light. It's really brilliant what he's doing.
People are normal. You wanna kill me? I'm eternal immortal. I live in every decision that catalyzes chaos, that causes division. I live in
that catalyzes chaos. The ego lives in every decision that catalyzes chaos. That is so true. I mean, think about how many ways we destroy ourselves when we do egotistical things. When we're disconnected from the part of ourselves that can nurture, that can bring a beautiful spirit out, that can give. And it's like when you're a part of the ego, it's all about yourself. It's a very selfish place to be. Even if you're punishing yourself with depression and pain and all sorts of things, it's still very selfish. And that's why the suffering is so massive, because we came here to experience life together, to be in interconnection and harmony. And so when you're all by yourself and you're suffering, or if you're creating the suffering for others, then it's the same. You've blocked out the light. You've blocked out the light of your soul, the light of your being, the ability to change and give love from yourself, and to receive love and to experience that. And so this is very profound.
Like death, the beginning of ends. I am you, you are me, I am you, friend. Hi, Ren. I've been taking some time to be distant. I've been taking some time to be still. I've been taking some time to be by myself, and I've spent half my life ill.
So he says, I've been taking some time to be distant from his ego. He's been taking some time to be still. That's really important, because oftentimes the ego wants to keep us in this mad race, busy, 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 performing, always, chasing some fantasy that we think will pay off if we just keep chasing it. But that's the great lie. The more we chase it, the more we exhaust ourselves, and we just deplete ourselves, and we are no closer to actually achieving this amazing life that can unlock the cage and set us free. So being still, really being within, and stopping the chaotic chase, the chaotic performance-driven, goal-oriented life and competitive life is a really big piece of recovering ourselves, really being with the truth. That's what being still really is. It's like, I'm going to learn to love and accept myself without having to run after it, without having to externalize it. So this is really important.
But just as sure as the tide starts turning, just as sure as the night has dawned, just as sure as the rainfall soon runs dry when you stand in an eye of a storm. I was made to be tested and twisted. I was made to be broken and beat. I was made by his hand, it's all part of his plan that I stand on my own 2 feet. And you know me, my will is eternal. And you know me, you've met me before. Face to face with a beast, I will rise from the east and I'll settle on the ocean floor. And I go by many names also. Some people know me as hope. Some people know me as the voice that you hear when you loosen the noose on the rope. And you know how I know that I'll prosper? 'Cause I stand here beside you today. I have stood in the flames that cremated my brain, and I didn't once flinch or shake. So cower at the man I've become when I sing from the top of my lungs.
Beautiful.
That I won't retire, I'll stand in your fire, inspire that me to be strong. And when I am gone, I will rise in the music that I left behind. Ferocious, persistent, immortal like you, we're a climate different side.
Oh, you just hear his heart, his reaching out for that power and that breaking through those chains, breaking through that lie. It's so beautiful. Reach for that. Always reach for that. Always break through the lie. That's so important. For those of us who have suffered suicidal ideation, it is extremely difficult to break through that. That feeling haunts you over and over and over and over again. You can't seem to shake it. You can't get away from it. But the most important thing is to reach beyond it, to go past it, to keep pushing. And the way he sings and pours his soul out, it gives me so much inspiration. I just think it's just so exactly what the world needs to understand is that don't give up. Keep trying, because what's happening on the other side of that is a miraculous horizon waiting for you, a whole new life, a whole new knowing of who you are, and a connecting to the truth of your eternal self that's living here as a human being in many levels of life. You have so much to offer. So I just think Ren is just offering us so much of his soul in these chords and in how he's singing this. It's so beautiful. Beautiful. Such mad respect.
When I was 17 years old, I shouted out into an empty room, into a blank canvas, that I would defeat the forces of evil.
Babe.
And for the next 10 years of my life, I suffered the consequences, with autoimmunity, illness, and psychosis.
Okay, I'm crying. Oh my God. So powerful. Okay. First, I do want to say something about the spiritual world, because as an empathic intuitive, I have always seen the spiritual world since I was a child and interfaced with that realm. And the dark forces really are real. They really are. And they plague people in a serious way. What I want to say is, it's uncomfortable to talk about these types of things because of how the world thinks of it, but it's really important to understand that you don't want to invoke that part of the spiritual dimension. You don't want to be curious about it. You don't want to speak to it. You don't even want to acknowledge it, because in the energy universe, what you seek shall seek you. So if you seek the darkness, it will immediately attach to you, and you will open up a portal into your life, and it can wreak havoc. And so I think it's really beautiful that Ren talks about how he called out to the darkness to say he was going to defeat it, and he was attacked, because this is a real thing that happens. So if anybody has done this, if anybody has dabbled in darkness, it's really important that you close those portals, that you say, I want nothing to do with this, that you turn your back on it and you speak that out into the universe. You say, God, universe, I don't want anything to do with this darkness. Please get rid of it from me. It's really important to not address the darkness, to not be curious about it, to not watch horror movies. Horror movies make major portals in your life. Don't watch anything that upsets or awakens your fear. Your fear is actually a portal. Anytime you scare yourself and you get that kind of thrill, you're awakening a portal for demonic activity to come in. And when demonic activity comes in, it won't just affect you, it'll affect your lineage, it'll affect the people around you as well. So it's really, really important to understand that we can't see everything in existence. Our eyes are only limited to a certain level of reality, because if we were able to see everything, we would have a difficult time being sane. And some of us have gifts that do see that world, and it's very difficult. It takes a very long time to figure out how to be comfortable with that. And I wouldn't wish that on anybody, to be honest with you. So whatever you do, don't invoke the darkness.
As I got older, I realized there were no real winners and there were no real losers in psychological warfare, but there were victims and there were students. It wasn't David versus Goliath. It was a pendulum, eternally swaying from the dark to the light. And the more intensely that the light shone, the darker the shadow it cast. It was never really a battle for me to win. It was an eternal dance. And like a dance, the more rigid I became, the harder it got. The more I cursed my clumsy footsteps, the more I struggled. So I got older, and I learned to relax, and I learned to soften, and that dance got easier.
Yeah.
It is this eternal dance that separates human beings from angels, from demons, from gods.
Yes.
And I must not forget, we must not forget, that we are human beings.
So beautiful. So beautiful. It's really important to understand that we are eternal beings, but we came here to have an experience in the human flesh. We came here knowing the setup of light and dark, and knowing that there were these different forces, but we were also given free will to experience life in whatever way that we chose. But it's important for people to understand also that you can cry out for help and protection from these dark forces in your life that might be affecting you. But unless you cry out for protection, you won't receive it, because we're in a free will zone and we've been given that. That's a part of the natural laws of the energy matrix that we're in. So you have to cry out for protection. You have to ask for protection if you want protection. You have to ask for anything that you want. That's why prayer is so important, because if you find yourself being tormented, if you find yourself wanting knowledge, wanting discernment, wanting to understand who to trust, all of these different things, you have to pray for that. You have to ask for those gifts because of this free will that you've been given. So it's really a beautiful thing for that Ren has done, because, you know, not only are we in this spiritual universe and this eternal universe, but we're also in a human position where we're limited in our understanding. And so really being pulled apart inside of ourselves and disconnected from our emotional truth and our heart and our spiritual and eternal knowing, it makes us even more easy to destroy. So that's why being connected to your emotional truth and your spirit, you can know so many things that your mind could never know. I have experiences as a child where I saved my family several times from death because I was connected to my spirit, and my spirit told me what was happening. And I'll share those stories sometime on the channel. But that's why it's so important, because the mind will create chaos, but the heart and the body and the soul, when you unify those together as one, you have great power of knowledge available to you and wisdom that's timeless. I encourage anybody who's going through any sort of mental health struggle to not think badly about yourself, to see the beauty, to see what you have that's beautiful, that's wonderful, and focus on that. This world has so many ways that it wants to tell us we're wrong and we're mentally unwell and we're not right. And yet look at the systems all around us that create so much of it. So I've gone through my own struggles, and I'm here to tell you that the best way to recover is to believe in yourself, to accept yourself fully, and to acknowledge that, yeah, sometimes you do have these struggles in the emotion and the mental health and suicidal ideation, but you can get beyond them when you believe and love yourself and invest in that. That's the most important thing to do. Believe in yourself and love yourself and accept yourself, and you will get through these things. You will see progress, but don't listen to people who want to tell you that something is wrong with you. That's not the case. There's nothing wrong with you. What's wrong is we are in a profoundly sick society that is set up with scarcity and competition and all sorts of things that make us work against each other and undermine our mental and emotional wellness. So really learning to love and accept yourself unconditionally and love and accept others unconditionally is the open door to all of the wellness that we require and all of the beauty that we have to give. My name is Dawn the Empath. Thank you so much for listening to my reaction. If you like to hear more empathic views, please subscribe to my channel. And of course, if you have any videos you'd like me to react to give you perspective and insight as an empath, please leave those in the comment section below. Be well.